Good afternoon, and let me welcome you to the George Washington University and also to the Trachtenberg School of Public Policy and Public Administration. My name is Joe Cordes, and I'm the Associate Director of the school. My colleague, Kathy Newcomer, who is the Director of the school, sends you her greetings in absentia. She's away this week at the annual meetings of NASPA, which is why she can't be here. Just a few words about the Trachtenberg School. So we are the graduate public affairs unit here on the George Washington University campus. We offer the Masters of Public Administration, the Masters of Public Policy, a Master's in Environment and Resource Policy, and a PhD in Public Policy and Public Administration. I'd like to think we're somewhat distinctive in that we really do blend the two public affairs traditions together quite well, that is public administration and public policy. We have about 400 master's students and about 80 PhDs. The purpose of the event, obviously, is to recognize the 20th anniversary of the IBM Center. As I mentioned to Dan Chenok when I said I'd be willing to kick things off, the center has a lot to be proud of in its 20 years. What I can particularly relate to are the various publications that the center has produced. Among other things, I teach a course in public expenditure and budgeting, and a number of the papers that have been commissioned by the center, particularly those dealing with performance management, have found their way onto my reading list. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Dan to come up here, and he's really going to get things kicked off.
Thank you, Director Cordes, and good afternoon, everybody. It is a great honor to have so many distinguished guests with us now, and I know there will be more coming during the afternoon for the panels we'll hear today. 20 years ago, in 1998, several PricewaterhouseCoopers executives had an idea to work with academic experts in providing actionable recommendations for government leaders based on sound research on how to address key management challenges. Those executives were led by Mark Abramson, who was the center's first executive director and is here today, as well as Paul Lawrence, who is now the Undersecretary of Benefits for the Department of Veterans Affairs and hopes to be here a bit later, and two Pricewaterhouse partners, Ian Littman and Kevin Bacon. Not that Kevin Bacon. 20 years and one IBM Pricewaterhouse merger later, thanks to Mark, our second executive director, Jonathan Brule, who will be moderating our second panel, our phenomenal staff, and our many partners in government and the good government community and academia, the center has produced a record of over 350 reports over the 20 years by numerous authors, some of whom are here today. Over 20 books, actually today makes it 23. And well over 500 radio and podcast interviews with government leaders who share their insights with the center and share it with the world so that we can learn from them about the challenges that they see and develop thought leadership that can help them address those challenges working with academia. Your presence here in the room today means that you have been part of the center story. Whether you have been an author, an IBM colleague, an industry colleague, an academic, a guest on the radio show, or in so many other ways. And we're very grateful to you for being here today. I'd like to specifically express our deep gratitude for a number of colleagues who have made the center's success possible over the years. First, our executive leaders in IBM. In addition to Paul Lawrence, Ian Littman, and Kevin Bacon, these include Al Morales, Deborah Kammer-Hines, Chuck Pro, Diane Rudnicki, Luann Pavko, Andrew Fairbanks, and Dave Abel. And I'm very happy that several of them are able to join us today. And of course, our current leaders, who you'll meet shortly, Sreeram Visvanathan and Lisa Mascolo. Second, I'd like to thank our partners across the good government community. We are so privileged as an organization to work with other like-minded groups in identifying ways to help government work better by working across the academic, nonprofit, and industry community to develop strong ideas. Among the partners that I'd especially like to call out are two organizations with whom we have co-authored several reports, the National Academy of Public Administration and the Partnership for Public Service. Third, our colleagues in government who have shared their insights and challenges with us over time on the radio show, in roundtables, in interviews, and who have been able to use our thought leadership to develop policies and practices that help governments serve the citizen of their nations more effectively and efficiently. Finally, our fantastic center team. We benefit from diverse perspectives of leaders who have previously served in leadership positions in government. Here today, a number of the center fellows include General Jeff Talley, who is the former commanding general of the U.S. Army Reserve, John Pereira, who was the Director of Mission Support for the Central Intelligence Agency, Jesse Sandberg, who was the Director of Shared Services for the New York Metropolitan Transit Authority. And of course, our core team deserves special thanks and recognition for making today's event successful and for making the center successful over time. Ruth Gordon, I don't know if Ruth's in the room, and her team. Ruth really is the brains behind so much of today and so much of how the center operates, and we couldn't operate without Ruth and her team. Michael Keegan, who many of you have worked with, who hosts our radio show, our podcast, and edits our magazine. And of course, John Kamensky, our senior fellow, who I'm sure most of you know, who has worked in good government space for many, many years in government and industry, and is in many ways the heart and soul of the thought leadership that the center provides. So we hope that those of you who are on social media will recognize that today we're here to talk about the long arc of government reform. And think about that as you are sharing thoughts both in the room and online. And this arc of reform goes across administrations and can teach future leaders how to learn from the past and how to move forward smartly into the future. And hence the book that we're releasing today, Government for the Future, Reflection on the Past and Vision for the Future for Government Leaders. This book is published by Rowman & Littlefield. It will be available after the event for you to take with you. Before that, of course, we have a very exciting afternoon of discussion on the agenda, followed by a reception. We hope you'll be able to stay for that. Do feel free to tweet. The hashtag for the event today is CBG20, so feel free to use that. We're going to be monitoring the hashtag conversation during the event, and at the end of each panel, we'll be pulling questions both from the audience and also anything that might come in from folks that are online watching the live stream to draw an insight as well. Rather than hear me talk any more about the center, we've put together a short film about the last 20 years that we wanted to show you, and then we'll get on with the program. So can we roll video?
In 1998, we decided we really wanted to create a new type of institution that would really be a small grants program for academics interested in the management of government. Specifically, we wanted to encourage research that was aimed at practitioners. We were very pleased with the responses we had from the academic community in 1998, and it really convinced us that there was an eager group of academics who really wanted to be helpful to government at both the federal, state, and local level, as well as we've also done some international studies. We wanted to really get studies turned around quickly and into the hands of practitioners. And that, I think, has really been a hallmark of what the IBM Center has tried to do. And we've really reached out to over 400 academics all over the world. And what we're especially proud of is we identified up-and-coming academics early in their career who were really interested in management and government. And we've been very lucky to continue our relationships over 20 years with many of our grantees who have actually done 3, 4, or 5 studies over a 20-year period.
I think the mission has remained the same, to bring the best ideas from the academic community to government and the nonprofit community, and the best thinking to help government solve hard problems. The way that we've done our work has changed. We do more global perspectives today than we did before. We reach around the world and have a number of reports and studies by authors from around the world looking at topics in Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Asia, Africa, really the range of the continent. We also do more with technology and more with using the web to have exchanges and interplay of ideas and activities that lead to sort of a more rapid interchange that benefits government. So our website is now one of the primary channels that we use to intersect with both government leaders and government stakeholders. And we have a very active blog where we write about topical issues. We are active on social media. All of our reports are now available there, as well as all of our radio interviews with leaders.
I think a very clear impact is a focus on people. The center, as you know, publishes a magazine. It does the radio show every week. And it does that deliberately to reach and focus on people and the people who are dedicating their lives to fixing the government's major problems.
The center is a public sector institution, and it is a public sector institution because it sits at the intersection of government, business, and technology, and it's viewed by officials and by the ecosystem as informed, influential, and independent. Over the course of its 20-year history, the center has advised officials across multiple administrations on matters of strategic and tactical policy. It's convened conversations aimed at driving policy and policy implementation through technology, through its online and print outlets. It's been a great 20 years, and we're really looking forward to the next 20.
So we look forward to a terrific future. We're continuing to work with our academic colleagues, our nonprofit colleagues, to bring original thinking and actionable recommendations to government. We look forward to more international engagement with colleagues around the world in this space as we move forward to bring lessons learned and share best practices. And we look forward to working increasingly in our technology space.
There's always a need for good public management and better public management. No matter how many problems or how many issues you fix, there are 2 or 3 or 4 or a dozen down the road that crop up that need attention.
I think the future now, I would hope for the IBM Center, is really to begin to think ahead more in a longer time frame and to begin to discuss what's the future of government going to look like.
Okay, that's us. Thank you, and thanks to all of you really that have made that journey possible, and many here today are our colleagues who have helped us to get there. It is now my distinct honor and privilege to introduce Sreeram Visvanathan, who is IBM's global government leader. Everything that IBM does with governments around the world, Sriram drives strategy and engagement for all of us as we work in the US and in countries in every continent across the globe. Sriram leads development of strategy, of thought leadership, of solutions and offerings, and to bring them together to help governments around the world do their job more effectively. Sriram's also been a great champion of increasing the IBM Center's presence around the world, and it has been a great pleasure to work with him in this journey. So without further ado, please welcome Sriram.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Real pleasure to be here, see some familiar faces in the audience, but a lot of new faces. I don't live in DC. I live in Dubai. It's a very interesting role to get to be the leader of the government industry for IBM when you live in Dubai. And one of the first things that I asked our chairman when she asked me to do this job is, why do you trust me with this endeavor? And I have to tell you that her answer was quite compelling. She said, I would like you to disrupt our thinking, to go away from the status quo, and to challenge the way that we think. And you've worked in emerging markets all your life, and we'd like to bring some of that fresh thinking into this industry. So that's been my purpose and mission for the last 3 years. And the reason I share that story with you is that the center has actually been doing that for 20. And it is at the forefront of what we are all about from an industry perspective. Now, we are seen at IBM as a technology company. We believe that digital disruption is here to stay. We are at the beginning of this wave of what digital technologies can actually bring to multiple industries. And as my colleagues in the commercial industries would say, those industries have evolved at a much faster pace than our industry evolves. So I probably have one of the best jobs at IBM. I travel around the world, and I get to meet with senior government officials in different continents, right? What I would put to you is that the challenges we face in our industry today are compelling. I mean, we are at the cusp of what I would call a perfect storm. And the perfect storm is caused by a mix of things. It's caused by socio-economic issues. It's caused by geopolitical issues. But more than anything else, it's caused by technology. And we believe that technology, if adopted right, can be a solution that can really drive the creation of government for the future, a government that caters to a world of possibilities, a world where every citizen, every business is enabled by technology to achieve the ultimate potential. So in order to do that, what we do is, we want to foster the center to be truly global, to work with academia around the world, to provoke thought, to challenge the status quo, to look at how digital technologies, as well as how the industry can evolve into creating the right policy framework to encourage participative government in all parts of the world, to encourage the new generation of workforce of civil servants around the world to come and shape governments for future generations, right? So for us, the center is one element of our strategy. The second element of our strategy, of course, is everything that IBM has been doing for the last decade or so in investing in emerging technologies, in cloud, in cognitive technologies, in the influence of artificial intelligence, so that we can bring all of those technologies to bear in how data, how insights, how mobility and everything else that we do can really shape what governments do in the future generations, right? So if you look at every segment of our industry, be it defense, intelligence, social services, public safety, education, every segment we would like to reimagine together with academia and together with our clients for future generations. So I would like to congratulate Dan and everybody in this room who has contributed to this first phase of our journey, if you like, but we're just beginning. This is the beginning. What we will be doing going forward is working with leading academic institutions around the world to kind of really amplify the role of the center, to have intense debate, to encourage cross-border conversations around the barriers that stop us from really embracing and adopting technology to achieve what we could truly achieve, right? And through this dialogue, through a better understanding of the impediments that stop us from achieving our true potential, we hope and we trust that we'll be able to create a future that we'll all be proud of, to imagine a future with our governments that we can all be proud of. So congratulations to all of you. I look forward to the panels, I look forward to the debates, and I look forward to contributing to the success for the next 20 years. Thank you.